All right, Big Mag, today is Tuesday, August 4th. Welcome to the Dog Walk, presented by Barstool Sports. As always, I'm sitting here with Chief because we got a big update today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is I don't know how to categorize this. I feel like we just, we do Tinfoil Tuesdays, we do What They Do, we've done a little true crime. This is kind of like a mix of all of them. And it's Ghislaine Maxwell, part 77 on this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people know what they're in for by now. If they're listening on Tuesday, it could be a little bit of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the documents are unsealed.
Yeah.
A lot of news broke, so that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that you've heard and some things that the most of these documents came from the Virginia Gouffre case. So she sued Ghislaine Maxwell in 2015. So she's obviously done, what she do, 60 Minutes. She's done a Netflix doc. There's been, out there, but now it's like through this prism of official leaked documents, you're getting a little bit more specific and a few bombshells tucked in there too.
Definitely. But before we hop into it fully, let's talk about our friends at Miller Lite. Obviously during this time of social distancing, connecting with friends over a beer kind of is different.
Yeah.
How have you really, what's something new you and your friends are kind of doing to enjoy Miller Lite, Chief?
Yeah, I mean it's everything's outside, and I said this briefly on the podcast yesterday. There's something better. A beer tastes better when you catch it. So even if if you just toss it to your buddies, it just makes it seem like you're having it like a casual time. It makes it feel a little bit better. So you want to be outside, you want to be drinking Miller Lights, you want to be feeling good, but staying safe too.
It's a good idea. We have one cooler guy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want everyone fucking shoving their hands in the ice.
That's it. And whoever sits on the cooler at a party, like what you're in for. You're getting up, you're doing lunges basically all day, but you're passing out the beers.
For sure. So Miller Lite, it's great tasting and it only has 96 calories and 3.2 carbs. However, you and your friends are enjoying Miller time this summer. You can have the original light beer delivered by Miller Lite by going to MillerLite.com/redline to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. All right, Chief, let's hop into Ghislaine Maxwell here.
Let's hop into it because there's a lot going on. And I think, we talk about bombshells that came out of this. She's always said, and publicly, and then also through lawyers in court under oath, that this thing where she's like tied to Epstein, and she's kind of always downplayed that. Like, yeah, I knew him, but I haven't talked to him in over 10 years. It's been over a decade since I've had any communication with him whatsoever. Well, that's no longer the case so now it's like she has all these charges, and she might just get charged with perjury too, because what leaked as part of this unsealed documents was that she had an email exchange with Jeffrey Epstein on Wednesday, January 21st, 2015. So that was around the time when Virginia Gouffre was suing Ghislaine Maxwell. So the fact that she's, publicly and under oath has said that, yeah, I haven't seen this guy in 10 years, like this is bullshit. And now you have an email from Epstein to her and back, like a thread back and forth. It's like, well, she's lying about that. She's at minimum, she's committed perjury. So big problem for Ghislaine. And like I'll read the email, and it's because Epstein basically was like coaching her on what to say and how to behave and how to act and all that. So the email from Epstein to her says, since J.E. himself was charged in 2007 for solicitation of a prostitute, I have been the target of outright lies, innuendo, slander, defamation, salacious gossip, and harassment. Headlines made up of quotes I have never given, statements I have never made, trips with people to places I have never been, holidays with people I have never met, false allegations of impropriety and offensive behavior that I abhor, and I have never, ever been party to, witness to events, and that I have never seen, living off trust funds that I have never even had, parties to stories that have changed materially, both in time and place and event, depending on what paper you read, and the list goes on. I have never been a party in any criminal action pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein. So that is like a statement that Epstein, from his personal account, his Gmail account, to Ghislaine Maxwell, that's what he's telling her to say. So when they're strategizing how to get out of these charges and beat these charges and what to say publicly, he's coaching her through that. And maybe it's something that's like he's talking to his legal team, okay, what should Ghislaine say? And then that's what he sends her in an email. And she replied, so that's what he said. Then she goes, she replies, I would appreciate it if Shelley would come out and say she was your girlfriend. I think she was from 99 to the end, from the end of 99 to 2002. Epstein goes, okay. He goes, that's okay with me. You have done nothing wrong. I would urge you to start acting like it. Go outside, head high, not an escaping convict. Go to parties, deal with it. I had Lisa Svensson, the Swedish ocean ambassador, yesterday, and she said no one on her ocean panel takes this stuff seriously, and you would be welcome to the ocean conference, ocean water conference. So that's something that Ghislaine, she, if you like put her into YouTube and dig for things that are not pertain to this case, she's been like a big time advocate for like clean oceans. So that's like one of her like charity things that she works on. And so Epstein, this is 2015. So she's saying that I haven't talked to this guy in over 10 years. False, because you have this email exchange. And that's just one thing that got leaked. So,
and the email, obviously, they're talking as if they know that someone's watching them.
Right.
You keep your head high. We did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Like, they know that there's some kind of leak. Not even a leak, but that at some point, what they have in writing is going to be used against them.
Act innocent.
Yes.
Like you said, go to parties, live your normal life. Don't let them don't look like you're an escaped convict. Mm-hmm. And which is exactly what she is.
That's so preposterous of her to act like they haven't talked in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like that's,
we know. Like,
that's what's absurd.
It's crazy.
Like, how are you going to go at that length to realize, like, hey, 2015, we could be under the gun here, and then be like, oh, no.
And, like, he's already been charged. Like, like he got that cakewalk of a sentence where he was allowed to leave jail. He has to check in for like a couple hours at night or on the weekends or whatever. But he had already like gone through that process. And so she knows, and like that was part of the thing with Alan Dershowitz. We can get to him in a little bit, where Epstein's co-conspirators were basically given like an immunity as a part of that plea deal, which she would be covered in, which makes these things being leaked or unsealed rather. A leak is like a WikiLeaks. This is not a WikiLeaks. This is like the judge said, yeah, we're releasing these documents as they pertain to Ghislaine Maxwell. Mm-hmm. So it was not like a hack job or something like that. These are like official court records that have now been made public.
Okay, so that's the first big thing. Mm-hmm. Ghislaine Maxwell claimed that she hadn't talked to Jeffrey Epstein in 10 years.
Yeah.
That is false.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, okay? But that sounds like perjury, and like you get fucking in big trouble for perjury. Mm-hmm. So like the cherry on top of everything else she's been charged with, this seems like something like, who knows, like maybe she's has a great legal team and she's a snake and she can just get out of jail trouble some way somehow, because it just seems like they're slippery. Pretty hard to say that you're going to escape perjury when it's like right there in writing.
Yep.
So that at least maybe there's some form of justice, like no matter what, like this is a safety net of justice. Like, well, at least you got her on perjury.
For sure.
So that would be good. I would say the other major bombshell from this is Bill Clinton. And this is now he's named, and I want to pull this exact question and answer back up. So this is, I believe it's from a lawyer talking to another victim. The victim's initials are JS. And so that's a different one than Virginia Gouffre, because different initials. So I'm not exactly sure which victim that is. I'd have to look that up. But question. He told me a long time ago, or I'm sorry, I had that backwards. So the lawyer is JS, and then V is Virginia. So this is all from Virginia Gouffre. So Virginia's speaking here. He told me a long time ago that everyone owes him favors, that they're all in each other's pockets. And then the question, when you say you asked him why Bill Clinton is here, where was here? On the island. When were you present with Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton on the island? Who else was there? Ghislaine, Emmy, and there were two young girls that I could identify. I never really knew them well. It was just two girls from New York City. And another question, and were you all staying at Jeffrey's house on the island, including Bill Clinton? That's correct. He had 4 or 5 different villas on the island, separate from the main house, and we all stayed in the villas. Question. Were sexual orgies a regular occurrence on the island at Jeffrey's house? Answer, yes. So the reason this is significant, and it's like you have the flight logs for, they have his, private plane where a lot of people have been on it. Clinton obviously was on there. It's like Clinton flew with him 21 times, and he seems to have an explanation for that. But he has been insistent that he's never been to this private island. So he said that many, many times. I've never been to Jeffrey Epstein's private island. Over and over, that's been his line. Never been there. We flew there to do things for Clinton Global Initiative in Africa. Like, yeah, he's a donor, but I never went to his island, this pedophile island that everybody talks about. Well, now you have Virginia under oath saying that he was there, and that's the second witness. Because if you watch the documentary, there was I think it was a telecommunications guy who was setting up cell towers and secure lines and all sorts of things like that. He says he saw Clinton there too.
Okay. And real quick here, Virginia, she also goes by Virginia Roberts too.
I think that's her married name.
Okay, yeah. So sorry, that's where I kind of got my wires crossed there. Virginia Giuffre, Virginia Roberts. That's the same one too who was in the picture with the prince, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So just to kind of paint a picture here, if you haven't been following like the victims that closely, that's
right.
That's who Virginia is.
I would say that Virginia Giuffre Roberts is the most vocal and visible of the victims.
I would say so as well.
So like you said, that picture is like very famous. But yeah, so this is now, for a guy who, and again, I'm not sure if Clinton if he ever answered that under oath, if he was questioned under oath. I don't believe so, but he has stated publicly that he's never been. And now you have someone who was under oath saying, I definitely saw him there. And then you have the other guy, like I said, the worker, definitely saw him there. Okay. So that's something.
That's big.
That's big. And, he was talking about Slick Willie, and he always has an answer for everything, and he's not really involved with this. I know him kind of, but not really. And he's always kind of, I feel like he's never been questioned that hard, which is kind of shocking, too, when you read through this thread. It's like the FBI has known stuff for a long time. And it's like, how do you have this picture and this testimony in 2011? Okay, maybe we should have skipped to that. But, like, the picture of Prince Andrew that we were talking about with Virginia, they've had a copy of that picture and her testimony, along with other victims, since 2011. Charges are just being brought in the last couple of years. That seems suspicious at best. And you would think that it almost makes it feel like, we've talked about this before, there's different levels of justice system. Because, yeah, he's Prince Andrew, so he's a big swinging dick, and but he's, if you have a testimony from a woman being like, this guy, like, I was forced to have sex with this guy as a minor, and it's just some regular guy, and here's photographic evidence of us meeting, and so my story checks out. He's never been questioned by the FBI, and he refuses to cooperate. The only questioning he did was on the BBC, which I think we did an episode about that interview as well, where he had I have no idea, I've never met her before. She's claiming that, I was this really sweaty guy, this sweaty dancer. And he's like, well, back then I didn't even sweat. I didn't even sweat back then. So it couldn't have been me. It's like, what are you talking about? You didn't sweat. And then there's other pictures of him just pouring sweat.
Unbelievable.
So it's just like how do you not and he's traveled back and forth to the United States a lot since then. You could have picked him up at the fucking airport and be like, hey, we have some pretty damning evidence we'd like to question you about. Nothing. So that was a tough one to read. Where it was like, hey, the FBI is, are they even working on this? Because they've had it for so long.
Mm-hmm. Now, real quick here, hold on. I want to take one more quick break, but I do have a few questions.
Okay.
Real quick, like I said, obviously most guys have tried different ways to last longer, whether it's maybe naming every song off of like a Led Zeppelin album or, trying to think back to lyrics of every Nelly song or whatever. You don't have to do that anymore because the folks at Roman, they have an online men's health company, and they're changing the game with Roman swipes.
Trying to rely on your own brain in that situation is a fool's errand. You got to bring in the big dogs. You got to go to Roman, get those swipes. They fit in your wallet. They're super easy. They're effective.
Clinically proven way to last longer in bed. Like you said, fast acting, no prescription, the discreet packaging, so nobody would ever know you're taking them. Very easy, swipe it on, let it dry, and you're good to go. That's it.
Does not transfer to your partner.
Exactly.
Key.
Important, yes. So go to GetRoman.com/Redline. You can get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. That's GetRoman.com/Redline. Definitely go check out our friends at Roman. They're going to, kind of enhance your sex game, so definitely go do that. So here we go. Now, 2 and 3. Like you said, now we have two. We have an eyewitness claiming Clinton was there.
Yep.
And then we have the telecommunications guy. So we have two sources saying Clinton was on the island.
Now, for clarification, I'm unsure if the telecommunications guy was under oath. He said it on the documentary. I'm not sure if he ever said it under oath.
Okay.
That's important. But
yeah, for sure. Definitely important. So the third thing here is, like you said, they've had that. The FBI has had the photo, the infamous photo now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, when you think of the photo from the case, that's one of like the main photos I think of now.
For sure.
Yeah, because obviously there's a picture of Epstein's mugshot, and there's a picture of that everyone uses for Ghislaine Trump, Melania and Epstein. But
as far as a victim with the perpetrator, that's the one
for sure.
Yeah, and one other thing I should clarify about Clinton is that when you read through the entire notes of what was unsealed, she very explicitly says that she was forced to have sex with certain people and saw certain people engaging with sex with minors, Prince Andrew among them, Dershowitz, a couple other guys. She never actually says that about Clinton. She just confirms that he was there. So Clinton's lying, or allegedly, whatever, was there. He was there allegedly. He denies that. But she didn't outwardly, at least in the documents that have been released so far, say that Clinton engaged in this misconduct. It went from a line of, was he there? Yes. Were orgies, did that happen often? Yes. No one ever asked that I saw, did Clinton participate? And did you see anything? Were you forced to have sex with Clinton? Those questions, at least in what's been released so far, are not out there. So being on an island in bad company, not necessarily illegal, not great, obviously, not good. And that's why he's denied it. But to date, he has not been accused by Virginia or anybody else that I've ever seen of actually engaging in sexual misconduct.
And where is he? I take it there's nothing now, like no.
Bill?
Yes.
I haven't seen him release a statement in response to this.
Okay.
So we'll see how it plays out. I'm sure he's going to be doing it very carefully. Mm-hmm. And she is under oath, so I mean he could be called in to testify on this, which would be, when was the last time a president besides himself was called into like a trial?
I don't know, man.
I think it might be him back to back. So it's getting, maybe Trump got questioned too. I guess he did too. Not related to this, but he did have to give sworn testimony. Anyways, crazy story. And again, it was like there was other things, going back to the FBI, that there was notes here that FBI agent Jason Richards in 2014 suggests the plaintiff was in regular communication with him at various times, particularly mid-2014. So it's like the agents are talking to victims, talking to Epstein in the middle of all this. So that's like kind of fucking makes you uncomfortable as well. That like, what's going on here? So it seems like there should be like a separation of church and state. So
for sure. Mm-hmm. Anything else here kind of that you kind of want to sift through?
Yeah, I would say, the Alan Dershowitz piece, this is, again, he's denied it. They're actually in a countersuit, the two of them. Dershowitz and Virginia Giuffre are suing each other for defamation, among other things, because he denies it adamantly. He was in that Netflix documentary being like, yeah, I dare her to say it on camera. She's never done that. And then poof, she does it on that same documentary, like the next scene. And so she gets, they get pretty heavy on that. And then this is the first time that I saw someone else besides the main people named, but they talk about this MIT scientist Marvin Minsky, and Virginia says that Maxwell ordered her to have sex with him in the Virgin Islands, on that St. Jeffrey's Island as well. And there has been long stories of, Epstein, he's into politics, he's in the world of high tech, he's in banking, and he's also in the he has, people in the education system too. So, a highly regarded MIT scientist, that he falls under that education field. That would be the first one that I've seen named. The other, I would say, lasting impression from these is the amount of names that were redacted. Which, if you're leaving Clinton's name in there, you're leaving Minsky's name in there, I wonder what the threshold is to have a name exposed in this unsealing versus here's all these documents, but we're also going to black out a lot of these names. So there's a lot of names that she names names. Not all of them have been made public yet. You wonder if those will come out too.
Do you happen to know what's the ruling on that?
I was trying to find what the judge said about that, and there wasn't anything clear that I could understand.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So
there's still more names to be named.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this
now, will they be named, or it's like in due time, or have you seen anything on that, or still unclear?
I think it's still unclear, and this is probably like the trial of the century, right? It's supposed to go to trial next year. I would assume that it would be handled much like the OJ case, where it's just it is must watch. If it's on Court TV or C-SPAN, I don't know what the fuck it'll be on, but I would assume that it would be it would be broadcasted. I would assume it would be broadcast. I could be wrong about that, but if it is broadcasted and they're interviewing witnesses the way the Netflix doc did, and many other victims and witnesses, they're just going to have to answer questions, and you would think that those names would come out then. But there's a lot of people, and there's Naomi Campbell, and there was other documentation here that showed that this was really an international thing. She says that she was in England, she was in the Virgin Islands, she was in the United States, she was also in France. Like, she was ordered to have sex with this hotel magnate in France. So it's like the scope of this thing is seemingly getting larger and larger.
There's a scientist at MIT, I believe, right?
Yeah, the scientist, that Marvin Minsky. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the MIT scientist guy. So the top. Maybe the number one university for math and science and engineering and shit in the world, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So the fact that this is, like I said, like the sprawl of this thing and the amount of people in the different corners of the world and different industries, that he's just got people with everybody. So, and that goes back, and it said that was Virginia's quote. He told me a long time ago that everybody owes him favors. They're all in each other's pockets. Yeah. And it's probably because it's like, hey, like, I know you did this, and guess what? I've got it on tape.
That's the thing. Like, I want to say, like, where it's going to come out, but I don't know, dude. Like, I think at any point, like, this thing could be halted, or that's all we're giving you. I don't know.
When they announced that the trial is happening next summer, I was like, they're going to murder her. They're like, she's going to have this. Like, that's where my brain went immediately. Having to wait a year because now you got all the Corona stuff. Trump's talking about banning TikTok. We're going to hurricane season. Like, I do think that this part of the reason, like, the Epstein thing went away, George Floyd, there's just so much news right now. And I feel like people aren't paying attention enough to this, which is probably why I keep asking and be like, hey, we should probably do another episode on this. So we've done a lot, I know, but it just feels like I really hope this doesn't end in a way that people don't get justice. Because they deserve justice, because this is like the most fucked up thing I've ever heard about.
Absolutely, man. But all right, that was a good update. It seems like the ball's moving forward for now.
Yeah, and good on the judge to unseal some of these things, because that is, the more people that know about it, the more public it is. I feel like it's the more likely it is that we get to trial and things remain safe, because awareness is key. Yeah,
definitely. So, all right, Chief, thanks for that today. Thanks for the update. That's Ghislaine Maxwell. What's going on? And listen, I think this is our most talked about topic by far.
I think so too. Yeah.
So keep your eye out. We'll be here if anything else happens. So that's it for today. Thank you, Chief. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you all tomorrow.